What's going on, YouTube? Today I'm going to go over a engine overhaul that I had done on my plane. I'm mainly doing this for educational purposes, one for myself to remember things as I recap the video and look at things. And another thing is I'll be a CFI soon, and when I teach students about how to describe an engine, they'll need to tell an examiner that in their check ride. And so I think by doing a video like this with the cowling off and everything brand new, I'll be able to help them learn and describe an engine to an examiner. So first off, this engine was overhauled by Mark Young down at Tropic Air Power in Indiantown, Florida. His price for this O200 overhaul came in at $17,000 and Zephyr came in at $27,000. So if you're considering an overhaul, definitely give Mark Young a call because he was significantly cheaper and his turnaround time was 12 weeks, which is very, very good. So what you're looking at here is an O200 Continental. It's a 4-cylinder. And for my students out there, these are your cylinders, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is called the case. And here is the plate of the engine right there. So as you can see, I don't know if it'll focus there, it's an O200A model. So let's kind of go over the engine. I'll just kind of jump around and explain things as best I can. This right here is your spark plug. There are 8 spark plugs, so there's 4 on top. And there's 2 more over here. And then there's 4 on the bottom. And you'll see they go in those holes right there. This is your wiring harness that connects into the spark plug. So this end right here screws into that. And that goes to your magnetos. Your magnetos are what provides a spark in the engine for ignition. And you have the 4 stages of an engine: ignition, combustion, power, and exhaust. I think I got that right. Let's see, this is a valve cover right here. So you have 4 valve covers on 4 cylinders. This right here is called an engine baffling. If you can visualize, the cowl sets on top of that, and that baffling seals and directs all the air on top of these cylinders to keep them cool, which is pretty nice. This is called a spinner, of course, and this is called a prop, if you didn't know. If you're wondering what this yellow wiring is, this goes to a JPI engine monitor, which I'll show you in the cockpit here. But we have censored this plane out, and what I mean by that is we have cylinder head temperature sending units right here. Let me get a little focus. Yep, so there's a sending unit, and there's one as well. And also on the other side, so essentially I'll be able to see how hot my cylinders are getting when I'm flying the airplane, which is great for awareness in the cockpit. On top of the cylinder head temps, we also have exhaust gas temperature, which is right here. So you can see we have, let me focus in here. That sensor right there is going into this exhaust stack. This is the muffler. We have one exhaust stack here and another exhaust stack here. And both of them have sensors on it for temperature reading, as well as the other side. If you're wondering what these little highlighter goop marks are, that's torque seal. So in theory, as you're looking at a bolt, when you're doing your pre-flight, if you pop the cowling and look around, if you see that torque seal has been cracked, then you know there's been movement on the bolt or on the spark plug, or what, this wasn't a spark plug, this is just a nut going to a, okay, let's figure this out. What is this hose? It is so it connects through here. Yeah, see, I'm learning this stuff as well. I want to say that's some kind of, pressure hose to some degree. I'm not sure. Oil pressure maybe? I'm not sure. Moving to the back of the plane, back of the engine, this is a second magneto. So there's two magnetos. In your run up, when you fly an airplane, you'll do a mag check. And so you'll do the right mag and the left mag. And so those are what those mags are, those magnetos. There's one mag and there's the other mag. And so if one fails, you have a backup to provide spark in the engine. To turn the propeller, initially, you need a starter. And that's what this is. This is a aircraft starter. Of course, you need a battery to provide a single, this is a single battery operated airplane, but some airplanes have multiple batteries. So this is a Concorde battery, an RG25. There's a screaming airplane going overhead. This is the O200s have two exhausts, so this is the other exhaust. This is the muffler here. And then right there is the alternator. That's a plain power alternator, brand new. So all of these wires and all the electrical components, they funnel into what's called a regulator. And that's what this is right here. That's a plain power regulator. And that essentially regulates the voltage that goes into your, your circuit breakers and electronics in the plane, so it doesn't, overstress your electrical system. So that's what that regulator does. Up at the front here, we have a vacuum pump, and that runs your directional gyro and your attitude indicator. So when you turn on your master switch, you'll hear that spooling up noise, zzz, and that essentially is your vacuum pump working, and it's causing those gyros to spin in those two instruments. Of course, some airplanes don't have a vacuum system. They've removed them and they've gone completely to an electrical system. This is the air box right here, and that's what air comes in through. And this lever here goes to your carb heat knob in the cockpit. So, and that's connected to, you guessed it, this is the carburetor. And so if you were experiencing carb ice in your carburetor, you would pull the knob, it would pull in air from the bottom here of this air box, which is why we call that unfiltered air. And that would essentially melt your ice in your carburetor. What else can I show you here? This is your oil fill cap right here, and also a place where you can check your oil with your dipstick. And that goes down to the kidney bean shaped oil pan, which is right there. Try to give you a better view of the oil pan. There we go. Oil pan. We got about 6 quarts in there now. I think minimum is 5 in this plane. And then, students, this would be a oil filter, which is changed, as recommended by the manufacturer. Again, this is a 0-timed, brand new overhaul engine, so I have to follow a pretty strict procedure when it comes to breaking in this engine. I think we're going to do our first oil change at 10 hours, make sure there's no metal in the oil filter, and then do another oil change at 25 hours and maybe 40 hours after that. We don't want the cylinders to glaze over in the middle, so we want to run it at, basically 95% power in these first, 40 hours or so to get a lot of heat in there, let the rings set, and really make sure this engine's in it for the long haul. That's pretty neat. You kind of see everything from this angle. So you have your exhaust stack 1, stack 2, air box, vacuum pump. All the hoses are replaced and brand new, which look really good. I think Dave my mechanic, he just did a wonderful job with this plumbing back here. I mean, look how beautiful it is. Look how intricate it is. I'll try to explain some things on here, but I'll probably end up messing it up because there's just that JPI I'll show you. It's monitoring everything. In fact, some people don't even do this, but I actually have a sending unit for the carburetor. So I'll be able to tell exactly the temperature of that carburetor. And if the carburetor is getting too cold, then it's obviously picking up ice. Here's the panel. I know everyone likes to look at the panel. So it is nothing special by any means, just a basic VFR time builder right here. But I got some glass in there. There's my JPI engine monitor, so I can't wait to use that. Arguably one of the most important instruments in the panel. I got an old school KX155 radio, an old school Garmin 320. There's my old tack, but the new JPI will have a tack in there, a much more reliable tack. Here's the bottom half. There's, you know, full gauge. I also have a fuel sending unit as well, so I'll be able to know exactly how much fuel I have, how much my endurance is, how far I can go left at certain power settings. So really pleased, and I'm just so excited to see how that JPI does. I guess I'll show you the entire plane. So this is a Cessna 150, built in 1977. It's the M model, Mike model. It's been a great airplane. The airframe time is pretty low, about 3,400 hours. This is the back, the tail number. The previous owner before me was not a great owner. He had a buddy who was an IA and signed off on a lawnmower battery in the engine compartment. So that tells you quite a lot about an aircraft owner if they're approving a lawnmower battery in their airplanes. So I purchased it last November, almost a year ago. Maybe put, I don't know, 100 hours on it, and I was starting to see issues. Metal was coming back in the oil filter, which, you know, every mechanic out here at my airport was like, that's not a good sign. You need to do an overhaul. And I'm glad I did. I pulled the engine, and at the overhaul station down in Indiantown, they said they found a crack in the case, which is this thing right here. So they sent that out for overhaul. And then 12 weeks later, I got this brand new overhauled engine. So they painted it, new superior cylinders. Yeah, it should be a jam up little airplane after this. I mean, the annual was just completed. That was quite extensive. A lot of stuff was cleaned up. This right here, guys, is an outside air temperature probe. So I'll be able to know what the current air temperature is outside. And as a pilot, that's important because you can determine if, you know, there's a potential for icing to build up. But yeah, I hope this is helpful to students when you're, you know, taking your check ride and you're asking, you know, the DP is asking you, all right, describe your aircraft engine. This is a common trainer plane. So is a 172. They both have 4 cylinders. They're both horizontally opposed. You can, you know, this is horizontally opposed versus vertically opposed. So this is horizontally opposed. You know, he might ask you how much horsepower it is. A good rule of thumb is, you know, this is an 0200 Continental, 200, just divided by 2, 100, so 100 horsepower. If you were thinking about, you know, an 0360 Lycoming, that's a common engine in a lot of Piper Cherokees, or a, you know, 172, 360 divided by 2, 180 horsepower. So it gives you an idea of horsepower amounts when you kind of apply that rule of thumb. So any airplane you fly, if you were to be asked by an examiner, you know, how much horsepower this is, and as long as you know the size of the engine and divided it by 2, you could get a pretty rough estimate of it. So yeah, that is a tour of my little Cessna 150, and I can't wait to put 1,300 hours on it and get to the airlines. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to comment if you see something on here that I don't, because I'm always trying to learn. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.